Good evening and welcome to this week's The Black Feather and Ospreys Rugby Fancast. Good evening, Mark.
Hi Sam, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, cold. It's been blinking freezing up here this week. I don't know what it's like in Swansea, but it's been extra
Oh, well,
tests up here this week. Yeah.
absolutely freezing. I went into the office in Cardiff today, and the people who might have seen on Twitter, I there was someone begging outside the tennis scores, and I've got like a long length. You can see the leopard print, but it was so cold. I put my full length fake fur camel jacket on today, and I did laugh because the girl went to me, "I love it. You're giving me Cat Slater vibes." Now, most people would be offended. Not me. I was
No,
like, "Oh, thanks, babes."
happy
That
with
was really like
that.
the vibe I was going for. But it was cold enough to warrant the long fun fur today.
Absolutely.
Um, People may notice we've got no Rod. Rod, babes, I hope your headache's better. Rod's got a bit of a migraine going on. So it's just us two
Just the
tonight.
two of us, as they say.
We can make it if we try. Um, that reminds me, we probably know the people who did the original of that song.
Yeah.
Um, Guys, we're in a WhatsApp group chat with James Yestin and Squidge from the Other Ospreys podcast, and they sent a thing today about chant, which we'll talk about later. But James said, "Oh, the song More, More, More by Rachel Stevens." And I'm like,
Yeah.
no, I actually didn't. I tweet back
Yeah.
and
I
said,
was I was with you on that one as well. I was
it
backing
was
the
Andrew Truman,
original.
mate. That wasn't Rachel
Yeah.
Stevens. Rachel Stevens covered it. And do you know what, James, you're cheeky because I said I'm showing my age and I'm being old. He liked the tweet. He liked my message.
Yeah.
Don't agree with me that I'm old. Rude.
Just
Um,
have to own it, Sam.
do you know what? I'm 47 and fabulous. I don't care.
Younger
Um,
than me, right?
Earned my stripes to get to this age, so I'm quite happy. Um, but Friday now, Rod was there.
He
You
was.
were watching on telly, and I was at Paddy McGuinness. Didn't manage to avoid the score. Um, so I did see the scores as I was coming through, and then I did watch an extended highlight reel. Um, Good game, good. It was a loss, but it was a good loss for us.
It was. I think it goes down as one that got away in the end, unfortunately. As much as we said last week, Leinster had won every game all season, all of them bar two with bonus points. So for us to be disappointed after a narrow defeat probably shows where our expectations have come over the last month or so since Mark Jones has come in. And right up until the last seconds, we were still in with a shout of winning that game, and yeah, one that sort of got away really, but we did well to stay in it first half, and then Leinster were on top first
Yeah,
half. We sort of clung on
agreed.
and stayed in it. It was a shame they got that try just after we scored. They scored immediately, and I think that was a
Yeah,
big moment. If we'd gone in, I think we would have been a point behind, and then ended up going in seven behind or eight
yeah,
behind. That was a big moment, but yeah, really good performance. I'm sure we'll talk about some of the individuals in a minute. With one obvious yellow capped individual, who I'm sure we'll come into in a little bit as well. But yeah, it's good that we can expect to be competitive against teams like Leinster now.
yeah. And I think that's what's been so pleasing about seeing everything on social media is people being impressed by that performance. A lot of the big pundits, not just us, were impressed by that performance. And we kind of can afford to be disappointed that it was a loss. Yes, we've dropped to 11th again. Um, with regards to the table and stuff. I think it was 11 anyway. Correct me if I'm wrong. But looking at those results, then it's very tight within that table. So we only need, we shouldn't have to rely on other teams for things to go our way. But if certain other results do go our way, then we will massively shoot up,
Yeah.
up the table. Cardiff have dropped a bit.
Yeah, definitely. I think Cardiff are on 30, we're on 23, and between us, there's
Yeah,
six or seven teams between us, and it's
yeah,
really, really tight, obviously. They sort of
yeah.
7 points separating those 7 or 8 teams. So I think week on week now, as the season goes on towards its sort of conclusion, it's going to be chopping and changing all the time, I think, between those
Yeah,
teams. And
it's going to
yeah,
be
and it
interesting to
was
watch.
yeah, it was good that Mark Jones talked after the game about the dressing room being disappointed, by not pulling out the win. And I think that shows
Yeah,
what mentality is as a squad as well. To push Leinster so close would usually be a good result.
yeah,
But to go there and expect to beat them and to be disappointed when we don't beat them is the kind of mentality we want, really, isn't it, from this squad and
yeah.
what we've had in the past.
I didn't realize quite how big RG Snyman was, but Jaden Gray, who follows me on Insta and I follow on Insta, had a selfie with him and he sent that to me, and I was like, blinking heck, he's tall. And he was like, oh, I still think I could have him. I went lower center of gravity, babes. Um, but he was like massive.
Yeah,
But I suppose for me, I love it when Origins weekend comes around because I really love seeing the players' Origin
that was
clubs,
brilliant. Yeah,
and everything around that. I loved that they got someone from Harry Deaves's Origin club to give him his Player of the Match award.
yeah.
So lovely. Um, but I suppose we should talk about Harry Deaves and Up the Pond to Clean Massive,
What a man.
because Tips was right in saying he's got a lion heart. He was outrageously good on Friday.
Yeah. I mean, he was so up for it from the first kickoff. You could see just by his body language, by the way he was hitting rucks, by the way he was, his sort of line speed defensively. There was a moment in the first half, I can remember there was a maul set anyway, and there was a Leinster player a little bit exposed on the side, and he went straight into his ribs at some
Nice.
speed. And I thought, yeah, he meant that when he's looking to hurt a few people, make a point that he's there to, look out for him. And he just seemed to be everywhere, didn't he? I mean, again,
Yeah.
a bit like Tipuric with his blue scrum cap, he's easier to spot
You
because
just
of
see his yellow cap.
but he was
Um,
just everywhere in attack and defense. I mean, even the 50-22 that he pulled off at the end was just fantastic. He was just, well, it must have been the game of his life, I think.
and he's like, I was listening to the Scrum Five podcast today as I was moving back and forth, and everybody on that Scrum Five podcast was like, "Can we just talk about how good Harry Deeps was on Friday evening?" Um, and they had some really good positive things to say about the Ospreys on Scrum Five, saying how their style of play has changed since Mark Jones has come in. It seems to suit the players, and how they've turned things around in the last 6 matches. And they did say we were really unlucky to lose on Friday. Controversially for me, which I thought was controversial for them, because they don't normally say anything negative about refereeing, they did mention the ref on Friday and say
Yeah,
Ospreys got nothing from that ref,
yeah.
nothing at all.
He was the usual reffing Leinster. Offside lines don't apply to Leinster. They can join a ruck from wherever they want to. They can join mauls. They can collapse from wherever they like. They can throw forward passes. It seems up to about 3 feet forward without anybody noticing. For whatever reason, they've got this magic cloak of
This
invisibility
golden
around them.
golden invisibility thing
Yeah,
going on.
when it comes to penalties that they just get away with absolute murder. And Ireland do the same as well at international level. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, he was an inexperienced referee on Friday as
Yeah,
well. At scrum time, okay, yeah, our scrum got mullered at times, but I think he had an impression of our scrum from the very beginning. I think there was a scrum quite early on when Bota got bent backwards pretty much in one scrum, and from there on he was picking this in every single scrum regardless of where the fault lay or whatever. Yeah, no, the referee gave us absolutely nothing, so to push them as close as we did, dare I say, against 16 men potentially.
yeah.
Yeah,
And it is, it's one of those things that we've talked about time and time again, which is not that we are being, insulting or blaming the ref for anything that's happened. But I think there needs to be a consistency of standards across the board, and that needs to be applied across the board, because you're right. I think it's similar, like Dupont with France. He can seem to get away with loads of things
yeah,
that other people would not get away with. And you can see why players talk out, like Mark Hansen talking out about it. You know, you can see that like people get frustrated, but thought it was really interesting that you said Harry Deeves was apologising to everybody in the changing room about the things that he did wrong when he did so
Yeah.
much right.
It's what Mark Jones said. It was lovely. I mean, in his post-match interview, he deflected all the positives from him and praised everybody else on the team pretty much for their contributions. Said how brave Iestyn Hopkins was at the end.
Yeah,
Attempt to go for broke with that kick in the last
yeah,
second. And then from Mark Jones was saying then when he went into the changing room, he was picking out his own mistakes and his own fallibilities in that game. Whereas he could have easily been, Billy Big Bollocks saying,
yeah.
cracker, look at me, I was amazing. But it shows us the type of guy he is.
He's so down to earth. Like that post-match interview was just adorable. Like in the nicest way possible. I just think I've been listening to the Gavin Henson podcast on Sounds.
Yes.
Really, really good.
Yeah.
Um, Saying about, him and Charlotte being the posh and becks of Wales. He's like the entirely different end of the spectrum, and he's so self-depreciating and just so normal. But then we know
Um,
Gavin's been diagnosed with ADHD now, so it explains a lot. But he is just adorable. He's so lovely when you speak to him in real life. He's just so down to earth.
It was just nice because so many post-match interviews are like interviews by number. People say
Mm.
the same things, they sort of talk about this and they talk about that, talk about the other. You can almost guess what they're going to say next. Whereas
Yeah,
everything said on Friday was off the cuff, was from the heart.
yeah,
He's clearly very passionate about what he does, but his contribution to the team as a whole as well.
yeah,
It was really refreshing to hear somebody being so honest.
yeah. And what other big performances did we have on Friday night?
I think Boshoff again, I
Yeah,
think he organises that midfield defence really, really well. Gives us some good go forward as well. I think, he's I know we've got a question we had later on about him and contracts and that kind of thing. I think if there's
yeah.
any keeping hold of him, that's an absolute must. I think in our midfield now he's a starter.
He's
Yeah,
strong.
he really is. He really is. Yeah, definitely. So that he played really really well. Um, I mean the front row. I know we've sort of said the scrums got mullered or whatever, but it didn't help. We had Nicky Smith pull out with illness, 10 minutes, 15 minutes before the start of the game, which meant that my mind's gone blank. Who played a hooker? Oh dear me, it's gone.
I know I want to say, and I can't say it, but bear with.
It's gone.
Um, It'll come
Anyway,
back to us.
he played 75 minutes of the game, against a strong Leinster pack as well. We had a Swansea uni student on the bench. So that kind of disruption to the front row isn't ideal. So they sort of fronted up well. Yeah, we fronted up to a big Leinster pack. When they've got somebody like Snyman, like you said, coming off the bench, who's an absolute monster, and we've got a Swansea uni student coming on for his first 5 minutes of
Yeah,
that shows the difference in depth of squad between the two, doesn't it?
yeah. And I think, the fact that they had 18 players that was still with Ireland. Do we know why Geordie Barrett didn't come over?
I
Or was
think
it
it's because
just
he
they
weren't
didn't
there.
show us any respect?
I think because you said you were disappointed that you weren't going to be there to see him. I think he just thought he might as well not come.
Don't
Yeah,
blame him.
yeah, I think that was it.
Absolutely don't blame him. Um, but I think overall, we're building something really nice at the moment. Um, I think we were all optimistic of a top eight finish at the beginning of the season. It's still achievable. It's
Yeah,
going to be a hard ask, but it's achievable.
yeah,
Um, if we can do that in light of the start of the season and Toby leaving and things happening, then I think I'll be happy with that because I'll be happy going into next year knowing where we've bedded in over a season. We're moving to St Helens, we'll have that momentum. I'm good with that. I'm not a fair weather fan. I can stick it out.
yeah. I mean, it was good. I didn't feel overly disappointed at the end of the game. I was gutted we didn't win, but there were
Yeah,
positives to take from it. And in defeat, you don't feel that way very often. But I think on Friday, I felt it was a job well done by the team.
Mm,
He couldn't quite pull off the win. It was still a step forward in terms of performance.
yeah, yeah. And
But
then looking forward, we've got a bit of a break now, and we have about 3, 4 weeks. And
yeah,
then we've got Connacht up next, which is your second team.
got Glasgow first, didn't we? First
Glasgow first, which
away
will be
first.
interesting in my house because obviously
Yeah,
John's a Warriors fan. Um, and then my second team, but Ospreys will always have my heart. And then after that, we've got Connacht. Now, how were the other teams? I watched the Glasgow Dragons game on Sunday, and I was slightly heartbroken for them. Not gonna, I'm not
yeah,
gonna lie. I thought, oh, here we go.
yeah.
They're they're fronting Glasgow,
They
you
did.
know.
First half
And
was
then it
better.
just went
Yeah,
badly wrong in the second half. They
it
were just
did.
bouncing in tries for fun towards the end, didn't they?
Yeah, it did. It was a shame, really. I mean, glad Dragons had parity, didn't they, coming up to half time, and then second half, the
Just
defensive
slipped away.
it just seemed to disappear. I think Glasgow probably had a few gears more to go through, whereas Dragons had gone through to their top gear in the first half to keep the game as close as they did. It was good to see them more competitive. It's the first time we've seen Dragons that competitive for a while. So that will give them a bit of heart. But as you say, the way the second half got away from them, 7 tries in the end is disappointing, really, if you can see that many
Yeah,
points.
yeah, it was gutting. Um, Duncan Weir seems to have found a little bit of form
Yeah,
again. Because he's got a bit of a baby face. I always forget how old he is and that
I
he's
know.
been
Yeah, he's
on the
been playing
scene for
well, hasn't
quite some time. But he had a really, really good game on Sunday. But what about your URC roundup then?
Let's go back to Friday, first of all, then. So at the same time as we were playing Leinster, um, Zebra were beating Edinburgh. 22-17, the final score there. Zebra are only 3 points behind us. From out
They've
in
shocked me this year. They have.
I think they shocked everybody. They certainly shocked Edinburgh Friday night anyway.
Do you
Yeah,
think it's
and
because their
they
talks of
win.
them folding
Yeah, it
and they're
seems to
like,
really galvanise them. Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, I mean Edinburgh's lack of depth showed to an extent, but they had so much possession, so much territory, couldn't capitalise on it. Zebra defended manfully. Um, hang on for the win. I mean, it takes them 12 clear of the Dragons now, only 3 points behind us. So, they're having a fantastic season and good for them, really. They were written off as being, them and the Dragons being the bottom of the table contenders for the season, but they are far and away better than the Dragons, and at the moment playing better than some of the other teams around us. Certainly, Ulster are struggling. Um, Edinburgh are now struggling as well. Zebra are one of the form teams over the last 3, 4 weeks, which is amazing to see. It's fantastic.
yeah,
So good for them. On to Saturday, Lions 30, Stormers 23. Deserved win for the Lions. Stormers having a disappointing season. They can't get anything going.
no.
They get a win, lose a few, get a win, lose a few. I think I honestly thought they were going to be top 4 contenders this year. I thought they had a really strong
Mm,
squad. But yeah, nowhere near it at the minute. And again, Stormers had plenty of possession, 72% territory, but weren't clinical to do anything with it. And yeah, the Lions' determination saw them home in the end. Lions play some nice rugby at the end of the day. I mean, all the South African teams do, but the Lions throw it about nicely. They've got a good set of backs there as well. And yeah, so Lions are only a point behind the Stormers for that South African Shield or whatever. They're the bottom 2 teams in that South African group at the
yeah,
moment. But I think everybody thought the Lions were going to be at the bottom by some distance of the 4 South African teams, and at the moment the Stormers and them are neck and neck. So
yeah,
big win, big win. Another big South African game on Saturday then. Bulls 19, Sharks 29. Another big win for Sharks. Again, they flattered to deceive a little bit this season, but they're now only 1 point behind the Bulls as well. It was an even game, but similar theme really to the weekend. That it was all about being clinical when he had the ball. The Sharks again had less possession than the Bulls, less territory, but just made the most of the ball that they did have to get the win. So not even a bonus point for the Bulls at home, which is a real shocker for
yeah,
them. And again, the Bulls, okay, yeah, they're still top 4, but not as good as everybody was expecting. They were my tips to
yeah.
win it this season, and they're flashing to deceive a little bit at the moment as well.
Mm.
Um, and then three games involving Welsh regions. Then to finish off the weekend, Scarlets went to Munster and were defeated by 29 points to 8. I mean, first hour, Scarlet's defence was absolutely immense. Munster were just absolutely battering at the door constantly, and the Scarlets kept on turning them back, turning them back, turning them back. That they were superb defensively. There's a mad stat that over the game, Munster made 59 tackles, the Scarlets made 241.
Bloody hell. That's like 75%. Oh, forgive my maths. I'm not good at maths.
Yeah,
That's like what, 75% of the tackles in the game have
yeah,
been made by Scarlets. That's gotta
yeah,
be tiring.
yeah. And Munster had 75% possession and 86% territory. So Scarlets really didn't see the ball at all for
That's
the entire.
mental.
So Munster were dominant, but the Scarlets really did front up. They, defensively very, very well organised.
Yeah,
Um, but Munster are ultimately a bit like Leinster, their squad depth when it comes to the international windows, they've just got the players there to just slot in.
yeah.
The internationals disappear, and it showed again the depth that they have. Lovely try by Max Page for the Scarlets, showing
Did
his.
see that.
I don't think he did get the ball down in the end. It went to TMO, and it was down to the question the referee asked, and
So
then
whether
getting
we let him have it.
exactly. They deserved it for the enterprise and for the hard work they put in. To be fair, the Scarlets, and yeah, I think the Scarlets are still in a good place. I think when they get their internationals back, I think they're still pushing for playoffs. They've got enough quality there,
We don't
definitely.
want him in too good enough a place though for our back-to-back
No,
weekends, do we?
exactly. And then second game of the doubleheader then on Saturday night, my second team Connacht against Cardiff. Yeah, Connacht superb again. First half went into a 19-0 lead. Played some lovely rugby, showed some real enterprise to throw the ball from absolutely everywhere. They were going from their own 22 regularly. Looked really, really dangerous. Built a 19-point lead. But fair play to Cardiff. They pulled it back to 19 all. And we're really in the ascendancy. Connacht nearly threw it away, but got a late try to get the win, which they just about deserved, I think, in the end on the balance of play, certainly on that first half performance. It was a win both teams needed, really. Connacht had been on a bad run and needed that to
Yeah.
steady the ship a bit for them. And Cardiff know they've got some tougher games ahead to try and stay in the top eight. So Cardiff would be pleased in some ways to get away with the bonus point, but having come back from as far as they did, they'd be disappointed to have not got the win as well.
Is this where we insert the Windsor Davis ain't half hot mum meme? Oh dear, never mind.
Exactly.
Um,
Exactly. Yeah, but Connacht play some good rugby to be fair, and they've had a tough run recently, but they've got a decent squad on a much tighter budget than the rest of the Irish regions do, and they do a lot with that to be fair. And then Dragons we've already touched on Sunday. Yeah, they'd be disappointed defensively with that second half, but Glasgow are a class outfit at the end of the day. They're
yeah,
champion. They've got that strength in depth, not quite to the same level as Leinster and Munster maybe, but they've got enough players to slot in the international breaks to be extremely competitive and to comfortably put a team like the Dragons away.
yeah. I certainly, I think it was a good weekend for the URC. If you're just a casual drop-in fan, then there was some beautiful rugby being played that, would have got you in. But it's been a bit of a week in Welsh rugby, is it not?
Again.
From a lot can go on in 7 days. Um, Obviously, Matt Sherratt was out in Connacht with Cardiff. She first met with the team yesterday,
Yeah.
and according to various news outlets, then he's met with the squad today to give them the news of what his team is likely to be on Saturday when we face Ireland. A lot of talk about the people he's brought in, and a lot of talk around who he's going to drop. So he's brought in Maxwell and Gareth Anscombe and Ellis.
Jared Evans.
Gareth, yeah, that's the one. Um, and there's been a kind of hint, well, there's rumours about his 15 for Saturday, And to be fair, the rumours are usually pretty true of where I've seen them on. So it looks as though his 15 for Saturday is going to be along the lines of at the back, we've got Blair Murray, Ellis Mee, Max Llewellyn, Ben Thomas, Josh Adams, Gareth Anscombe, and Thomas Williams. And then looking from our front row, Nicky Smith, Elliot D, Will Griff John, Will Rowlands, David Jenkins, Jack Morgan, Tommy Revel, and Talupe Faletau, with Jack moving over
Mm.
to blindside with Tommy Revel coming in as six. Um, no ideas on bench really, but looking at that, I'm assuming,
There's rumours of a 6-2 bench, is what I've heard tonight. 6-4
yeah,
with only Roger Williams and oh gosh, I can't remember who the second back was now. But it was an outside back, and I can't remember who it was now.
yeah.
Yeah.
Um, Not because he's an Osprey, but purely because of the way it's been. I know Sherratt's only there for 3 games, so he's gonna want to go for what he knows, and he's gonna want to play what he knows. The reality is, you can't really do anything within 3 matches. He's got no pressure on him. There's no expectation on him as such, but there is going to be that element of, is he going to stick to what he knows? Because I was listening to something today which said, attacking wise, you can go in and make a little bit of a difference with the attack. Defensively, he's likely to stay the same because to get a defence up and running and knowing what each other's doing, you're looking at
Yeah.
3 to 6 months. So the reality is he's not going to make any impact on that. I feel slightly gutted for Dan Edwards.
Yeah, it's a not a good way to treat him. I can see what Sherratt's doing. It was inevitable when he came in. He was going to bring in players that he's worked with
Yeah,
previously. Anscombe should have been in the squad from the start anyway, even if he wasn't going to play, at least as a mentor to Dan
he's
Edwards.
there as an old head, isn't he?
It's in there. So you should have been in the squad in the first place anyway. But to draft in 2 10s with Jared Evans as well, even though he's not likely to be even on the bench on Saturday. Dan played the majority of the game out in Paris.
Didn't do
Played
anything wrong.
Yeah, played a fair wodge out in Rome as well, and has done very little wrong in either game. He did what was asked of him to do.
Mm.
It wasn't anything complicated. It was mainly take the ball, pass it on to the next pod, which was Gatland's style of play. But he did his job. As a young lad coming in, he would have been proud of those two, of those two performances. Um, and now he's probably
Out in the cold.
fourth choice with sort of when sort of Costello's fit as well. And back to square one. I mean, the positive for us is he's back for us, and maybe he'll be available for Glasgow possibly. But I do feel for him because he's been given an opportunity, done very little wrong, and just cast aside. Um, so yeah, it's a shame.
It sucks. It really, really, really does suck. Um, and whilst we can understand it, then I think, they talk a lot about psychological safety of the players and stuff. That's a kick in the teeth, that is.
Yeah, and he isn't
It's
the
a
only.
lot to take at 21.
Yeah, likewise Eddie James as well. He sort of made
Yeah,
a start in Italy. Again, did very little wrong in terms of the game plan that he was asked to play. He's going to be out to the 23 completely. Um, not
I
likely to start him again because Sherratt's going to play Ben Thomas
yeah,
at 12 for the remainder of the games. You'd imagine. So we're not going to see Eddie James probably on the field again
won't have
internationally.
a bad word said about that boy after rescuing me as a damsel in
Exactly.
distress.
Exactly.
You
So,
know?
there's a lot of players, Gareth Thomas can, I know we're Ospreys fans, but again, he was one of the few upsides in the French game, certainly, not just
Yeah,
but around the field as well. Had a really, really strong game in what was a really demoralizing defeat. Okay, in Rome wasn't his best game, but certainly not to the point where we expect to be
that
dropped.
was across the whole 15, though, isn't it? That wasn't a Gaton
Okay.
thing.
Nicky Smith coming in isn't the end of the world. He's a strong player coming in. But for Gareth Thomas again, when you don't do an awful lot wrong and then you get dropped, you start to question yourself and question why, don't you?
I think as a player or as a, you know, it seems weird to say, but as a lawyer, because of the type of job that I do, so I'm in conveyancing, that is very target driven. That is very performance driven. And it's like anything. If you are doing the best that you can do and you've not done anything wrong, it sucks. If for whatever reason you sidelined or whatever, anything else. So for me, that's where as players I would struggle, you know,
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
regards to that, because you're like, I haven't done anything to warrant being dropped. Um, you know, Wainwright has done an interview as well this week to say that it was quite sad when Gatland spoke to the players and explained that he was going. Um, but Wainwright's like, we just need to make it work.
Yeah.
I was part of the 2019 setup where at one point we were number one in the world. We need to get back to there. So I do think they need players like that because Wainwright's not old, but he's got a slightly older head and his shoulders. And I think they need people within the team who can be like, right, lads, we pick ourselves up, we dust ourselves off,
Yeah.
and we move on. Um,
Yeah. Massive for Ellis Smee, coming in for his first cap. He
yeah,
impressed this season, but coming in for your first cap on the wing against,
against Ireland.
I believe, one of the best teams in world
Yeah,
rugby is going to be a real challenge. Up against Lowe or whoever he's going to be marking or whatever, is going to be a huge ask for him.
and loads of shit house as well, isn't he? Which doesn't help.
I would imagine he'd probably be targeted under the high ball as well.
Yeah,
But I do worry a little bit. I mean, there's been lots of talk about Sherratt's style of play, and he's going to want to have a more attacking style of play, which we all like to see. However, when you're playing one of the top two, three teams in the world, you're low on confidence. If we go out there and start trying to throw the ball around and, change our game plan completely to what these players have been playing for,
Ireland are going to punish us.
I mean, they'll tear us apart, and
Yeah.
that does worry me a little bit.
Obviously, they've had some injuries, which is it's funny because people are talking about the injuries being like, oh, we're in with a chance now.
But then you see the
Let's
players with
not
yeah,
let's not get excited.
the strength and
Um,
depth again is, okay, Caelan Doris is out, upset,
yeah, he's picked up a knee injury and
up against the net.
Kelleher's got a neck thing, isn't he, going on? Um,
I think we're just looking for a performance, aren't we, on Saturday? We've said this so many times over the past 6 months with the Ospreys and with Wales, when things haven't gone well. We just need to see us being competitive,
yeah,
blown off the park in the
we
first 20 minutes and out of a game before when it's barely even started. Especially
yeah,
there's going to be an expectant crowd, even though we've lost the last 14 games because we've now got a new coach. I know it's only for the next three matches. That it does give everybody a bit of a
wouldn't
lift.
have daffodil heads there, anew, to be
Yeah,
honest.
exactly. There will be excitement and there will be expectation. And if we get battered by 30, 40 points, then that bubble's going to burst straight
Yeah,
away.
yeah. But moving on then to rumours about coaches. Um, and there's been some really misleading headlines out there. So this is not me swearing, but Bastereau from France has said, I think Sean Edwards would be a really good
Yeah.
fit. He's personally not put his hands up and said anything. Not too sure if he wants a head coach role. And obviously the way that it was dealt with his contract and things last time,
Mm.
would he want to come back is the question.
Yeah.
Um, Michael Checker has apparently spoken to players, and according to the internet rumour mill, he had an interview for Wales 3 weeks ago. I
Blimey.
don't want Michael Checker.
I think
I
it's a very safe move by the WIU to have an old head in, one of the old guard of coaches who's been there and
You've
done it.
got a young team. I
We
don't
don't
know how
need
it would
that.
fit with that.
I don't think so either. I'd rather see a Franco Smith or a Simon Easterby or
Yeah.
somebody like that come in to their first international coaching experience.
And I loved Franco Smith on TV on Sunday. Yeah, I'd be interested.
Yeah,
Um, Not so much a question and I could put it in later, but I think it's, to put it in now. Obviously, Scottish husband, Glasgow Warriors fan, so not much of a question or a comment really, but more of a statement, which was, please leave Franco Smith alone, along those lines. So,
I mean, Townsend could
um,
be under pressure as well, couldn't he? If sort of Scotland's rest of the Six Nations doesn't go better than they go at
no,
the moment, then they could be looking at Townsend going again.
literally,
Maybe
what he
look.
said is not a question, but can the WRU leave Franco Smith alone? We want him to replace Townsend.
There we are.
John, I'll see what I can do. I don't think I've got much sway, babes, but we can see what we do. Um, Brad Moore from New Zealand is also another
Yeah,
random name that's been thrown out there. But a couple of suggestions have been people like Steve Borthwick. Um, Not Steve Borthwick, sorry, Stuart, what's his face?
Lancaster.
That's the man.
Yeah,
Got Borthwick on the brain. Um, so Stuart Lancaster's also been touted. But also a lot of talk as well about, yes, we need a coach, but at the moment, should all our energy go into pouring and looking for a director of rugby?
yeah,
Because a director of rugby and a head coach has got to work together. You put in the horse before the stable doors are bolted. Like,
yeah.
I don't know where.
I was listening to the Nations pod, the BBC Nations pod today with Gareth Owen
Yeah,
and others, and they asked Gareth Owen directly who would be the candidates for sort of director of rugby, and he said, "I haven't got a clue because we don't
yeah.
even know what the WRU were even looking
What's
for.
their criteria?
Are they bringing in a business person to do that role? Are they bringing in a rugby person to do that role? Um, we don't even know what we're looking for in that role yet.
Or someone who can bridge the gap between both? So someone who's got a commercial head, but
But the worry at the moment, if we don't have a director of rugby in place and we're appointing a coach, then the WRU don't exactly have a good track record at senior level of making good decisions. And who is the rugby brain within that organisation?
off piece by her now. What's Rupert Moon doing?
I don't know.
Because he's got a bit of a commercial head, because he did a lot of commercial stuff at the
Yeah,
stadium, didn't he? But obviously, he was part of quite a successful Scarlets team
yeah.
at the time. Um,
But who's going to make that decision if we're appointing a coach first? Then what rugby nous is there within the organisation to make the right decision
yeah,
on a coach?
you kind of don't want the tail wagging the dog, could you? You need the dog to wag the tail. Um,
And it might depend on what sort of coach we're looking for as well, because if we're looking at a less experienced coach, they potentially would be on less money, which then frees up more money to appoint a more experienced
Performance
coach.
director.
Whereas if they're gonna go with a Gatlin type salary of 500 grand a year, that's not going to leave much money for a DOR above him.
Yeah.
So it
So
depends
I'm
which.
just looking now. So he was a commercial director for the Millennium Stadium for quite some time. He's been a general manager of the North Wales Rugby Development Region, and he's currently a director of corporate and social responsibility at a construction company.
Hmm.
So he's got his commercial
Yeah,
stripes.
but the rugby and the commercial side, isn't it? Yeah.
This is me just going completely off tangent and thinking, oh,
We start rumours now. Group of Moon up for
you
DOR.
heard it here first. Um, Do you know, imagine that happened. I'd be like Mystic Meg. And now younger people won't know who Mystic Meg is. Um, Said something about Doris Stokes the other day. Can you remember Doris Stokes?
No. Who's
The
that?
medium Doris Stokes.
No, you've lost me on that one.
Oh,
There'll be
she
somebody
was
out
a
there
really
listening will know what
famous
it was.
medium in the like
Is there?
70s and 80s.
Oh no, you lost me on it. No.
She was like Derek Acora before Derek Acora.
No.
And I was said about Doris Stokes the other day, and like my team in work are really young, and they were like Doris Stokes, and I had to Wikipedia and send it to them. And I also said something the other day, which I picked up off my nana. And my nana would be like near 100 this year. she's still alive now, and Jesus Christ, they got more strokes than Bradman. And they were like, what are you on about? And I was like, Don Bradman, the cricketer. And they were like, what, you like cricket as well? I was like, actually, yeah, I do. But, you know,
Yeah.
so I often pop these things in. But it'll
No,
be
I mean
interesting to
Saturday
see how
it's
this plays out.
definitely, and that one's for the future, isn't it? I think for now it's getting
Just
through the
get
next
through
three games
this.
unscathed. Hopefully, not be a laughing stock by the end of the Six Nations. We need just an improved performance. If we can pick up a few losing bonus points, or dare I say, a win somewhere in these last three matches, that would be amazing.
Scotland.
Um, no, and that's as
He'll
much.
kill me tomorrow. You'll be like, what?
England would be better that last game, but yeah.
I'd love that.
But I think that's as much as we can ask for, really. And then they've got until the Japan tour to get that organizational
And
in place with the DOR and the coach.
let's face it, even if they haven't got a coach by the time we go to Japan, it's not the end of the world because, you could still possibly have Sherratt as a kid. You would hope it would be resolved by then, but
Yeah,
it's not the end of the world if it's not.
no,
Do you know what I mean?
yeah, definitely.
Um,
I mean, that sort of touring squad for the summer could be extremely strong if the likelihood of us having maybe two or three Lions at maximum is going to come to sort of fruition, then we're either going to go to Japan with an incredibly strong squad, or we're going to rest a ruck of players and bring youngsters in to give them an opportunity. But
yeah.
either way, it's going to be a
And the autumn internationals have been
they
announced
have, yeah,
today as well. So looking ahead at that, we've got 4 games,
yeah,
but
one
one
out
is outside of the international window.
should probably be
Well, it's
URC
still in
weekend.
November.
Yeah, it'll probably be a full URC weekend, knowing us.
Yeah. Um,
So we got
so
Argentina, Japan, New Zealand, and South
we
Africa.
got, yeah, first up, then we've got Argentina,
Yeah,
which they are in the 25, 30 years that I've been taking myself to watch international rugby. I've gone to see them play numerous times,
yeah,
and it is joyful to see how they've come along.
yeah. Developed.
Um,
Yeah,
then next up, we have got Japan on the 15th of November.
yeah.
Then we've got New Zealand on the 22nd of November, and then South Africa on the 29th of November. So two of those, one of those against Japan should be winnable. Argentina depends on the day,
Yeah.
but New Zealand and South Africa,
That's
again, we just got to make a good show of ourselves, and we.
yeah. Let's just hope that we're not on 17, 18, 19 lost matches by the time we get to the autumn. Because if we lose the three in the Six Nations
I
and
will shoot myself in the face.
the
Poke my eyes out with a poker so I can't watch.
just hope that we've won the game by then and we're not looking at heading towards 20 defeats in a row. That would be quite depressing,
Oh,
wouldn't
I can't even. I just can't. I just can't. Um, you know, and again, Franco Smith, everyone's like, oh, why do you want him? He's done 13 losses. But then if you look what he did with Italy,
it? Yeah,
the things that he put into place are coming to fruition now. So
yeah,
yes, his results when he was with Italy weren't great, but bloody hell, he's given them a good solid foundation that's coming home to roost
yeah.
now. Um,
Yeah, and he would have
so
learned from that experience as well, wouldn't he?
yeah, and I think it's a big thing for him to go back to international rugby to show that he's got something to prove.
Yeah, definitely.
But
Massive
don't want to
human.
make score predictions.
Score
Don't want to
prediction
make.
today. Oh, blimey. Head or heart?
Should we just not?
I can't see us winning, put it that way.
No,
I
we'll
think,
go for an island win.
yeah.
But if we can be within sort of 5 to 10 points, are we going to
Okay,
be
we keep them
happy?
within, yeah, we keep them within 10. I'd be delighted. Keep them between, even keep them within 20. I'd be reasonably happy.
I would just be happy with us scoring some tries.
Exactly.
Just scoring some tries, and I would be happy. But we can kind of park that and discuss that next week. Chance. had a
Yeah.
couple of suggestions this week. Now, first one's a bit controversial from my mate Ron on Twitter, but it did make me laugh.
Yeah.
And he's stolen this from some Dragon fans who sang it down at Scarlet last year, which is Lacquer bridges falling down, falling down, falling down, Lacquer bridges falling down, the Scarlets. Now,
Fair enough.
that's tickled me more than it should. Um,
Perfectly reasonable
this is
song. Yeah.
this has not come from me. So for anybody else comes to me on Twitter, not today. Stay with for next week. I got enough beef as it is. Um, so I like that. And then we've got James Reese, who has said, where does I go through my Joe, I got so many WhatsApp chat groups now, and it just frightens me. I forget who's who. Um, right, so this is the Rachel Stevens, more, and he's gone more. How do you like it? How do you like it? More.
Yeah, that's nice. That's catchy.
That will
Not many
that'll do.
words. It's catchy. Yeah, that works.
That'll like work for me. And then we've got my pal Martin on Twitter, who has come up with uh Ruben Morgan Williams to the tune of Seven Nation Army by the White Stripes. So Ruben Morgan Williams. Try getting your teeth around that when you've had a
Two
drink.
syllables in there, aren't they? Yeah.
Yeah. Also, Martin, thank you very much. When I was out in Rome, obviously best sandwich, we discussed that last week.
Yeah.
But John had a sandwich which was focaccia, sorry, Rod, focaccia, mortadella, and like a pistachio pesto type thing.
Nice.
So I've been Googling pistachio pesto, and thank you very much, Martin. You've given me a really good link to a really good online Italian food stockist. So thank you, Martin, for that. I really appreciate it because I sometimes post stuff on Twitter that's not even rugby related, or just snapshots of my life.
Yeah.
Um,
Sounds nice.
if I can also plug as well, went to a place in Swansea last week on Duke Street, just off Walter's Road, called the Crazy Baker, and I had tuna and cheese focaccia, homemade focaccia. They make everything out the back. Oh my God, it was amazing. John had like a chili something sausage roll, massive, £9 for both of them.
Nice.
Amazing. So if anybody's looking for somewhere to go, Crazy Baker, they got like homemade pastries, donuts, and really reasonable. Absolutely amazing. So top
And
tip from Sam.
and then Crazy Baker, if you want to sponsor us or just send us some free food, absolutely fine with us as well.
I'll tag him. He did say share the word. So this is me sharing the word. Crazy Baker, Duke Street. Absolutely stunning. And we got into a bit of a chat because I had my Macron Italy hoodie on, and he was like Italian, Italian heritage. And I just had to explain to him I don't speak Italian. I'm not Italian. I just bought it because I really like the colour and it made my eyes stand out. So, but those are our chants this week. So send us some more. Good news, we think we might have a band for the
Yes,
Scarlet game.
which the club are organising themselves by the sound of it, from what we've heard.
I
Yeah.
know, I
Yeah.
know. Nick Williams, who's on Osprey's Diary, I have to say, guys, all us Osprey pods, we're all really friendly. We all get on, and we all talk amongst ourselves because at the end of the day, we all just want what's best for the club, and we love the club. So it's a big collab thing, and we've all got very different podcasts. So there's no sort of like rivalry there.
Uh,
We just all really, really get on. So Nick has been speaking to Rod. Nick had Lance on the Irie pod last week. So
Great
there is
interview.
talk about having a band,
Yeah.
which I think is just epic.
Yeah.
And should we share? the update of the beef between Rod and Ozzy with our
Well,
further listeners.
no longer a beef, is it? It's now more of a bromance than a beef.
Uh-huh. So
Yeah.
Friday, Ozzy went looking for me in the lounge award in there. I was at Paddy. Ozzy then went to see Rod. Ozzy gave Rod a card and a present.
On Valentine's Day.
Valentine's Day. And they called it Ozzy Love. Um, yeah, proper like to Rod, be my Valentine, love Ozzy the Osprey.
So
So
the
there's no
besties now.
beef there.
No, besties now. The fight's
I
off.
know. It's so cute. We'll post pictures on our social of the card.
Yeah.
And you know what? Ozzy, mate, your handwriting's really nice considering you've got big wings. So,
Yeah.
I love that. Um, However, I always blow you kisses. And I don't get anything. On their mind. But, next time, you know, I can't cope with not being the favourite, if I say. So we absolutely squashed that beef. So it's a love-in now between
It is.
Rod and Aussie. Club has updated and said that the tickets for the playoff will be on sale soon. So we'll post on our socials when they're up and running for you. But we've had some questions through.
Yeah.
And I know that I posted a couple of them in the group chat, so we can have a little bit of a think about them. And the questions that we have had are do do do. So from Edward, how do you think our chances are of getting into the top eight? Because we've got the Glasgow and South Africa games coming up. Um, we touched on that a little bit earlier. We think it's still possible,
I
but it does depend on some results going our way.
Yeah, I think we'll be in the mix, possibly going out to South Africa, but it's going to be a tough ask to get two wins from those last two games over there.
Yeah,
I think it'll probably, I think we'll come up just short. I think we've left ourselves a bit too much to do, probably. However,
next year.
still steps forward, and next season is looking really, really positive. So yeah, let's hope, but it's
Yeah,
still possible. Still possible.
still possible. We can dream, we can believe. And um, then the other question is from my friend Andrew, which again we've kind of touched on, which is along the lines of URC ref and standards.
I
It's
mean,
not great.
it wasn't just our game Friday, like you said. It seems that every single weekend, almost every fan base is complaining about the refereeing standards and the inconsistencies that they see from week to
Apart from
week.
Leinster.
So, apart from Leinster, who obviously love every single referee that refs them because they don't notice anything that they do wrong. But yeah, there's got to be some consistency. There's got to be something from, I don't know, whoever the referee governing body are for
Wasn't
the.
there talk of Nigel Owens going in and working with the refs?
Somebody's got to do something, and they, in terms of interpretation, um, and yeah, I don't know. We can't carry on with every single weekend there being
Yeah,
controversy.
everybody's got to be on a level. So we agree. And then another question, which was, if Owen Williams does leave, what experienced 10 would you like to see come in as a mentor for Dan Edwards? Personally, I'd like to see Dan Bigger come home to finish his career or dreaming of Marquee signings, Richie Mwanga, after all Mark Jones did work with him at Crusaders. Your suggestion, can we have DuPont at 9 and 10?
Want to cover both would be lovely.
We ain't got the budget, mate.
Can't see that happening though, unfortunately. Yeah, I think an experienced head. I don't know off the top of my head who that would be. Bigger would be fantastic. Coming back to us would be
You
amazing.
imagine for his
To
like next season coming back, going to St Helens.
Yeah, that
Wow.
would be awesome. To be fair, and Dan would learn so much from working alongside Bigger as well. But he's on a fair penny over in France, and so I can't see that happening.
And he's got a nice life
Yeah,
over there. His kids are still quite young and so it's not perhaps, school and everything else to worry about. But that would certainly be, the dream signing for all of us. And I think I kind of agree with you, really. Mark Jones has got a lot of contacts with the Crusaders and the work that he's done
Mm.
there. So bringing someone in he's already worked with
It'll come down to
could be,
at the end of the day, wouldn't it?
yeah,
Down to what we can
yeah,
afford.
yeah. And that's it for our question. But as always, please get questions, comments, whatever in to us because we love answering them. I don't know if you've all noticed, but I've started calling you my little feathers now.
I
On
did see that today. It was cute. Yeah.
I know. Um, well, do you know what? I was thinking we call them like our watchers, our listeners, and everything else. And I'm a Swiftie, and I'm like, well, Taylor Swift has got her Swifties. Lady Gaga's got her little monsters. I think Katy Perry's got her kitty cats or something like that. So I thought, you know what? We
Why
can
not?
have our little feathers.
Why not?
If anybody's got anything better to suggest or objects to me calling them a little feather, let me know. Um, but absolutely love the interaction, most of the interaction I have with people on Twitter.
Yeah.
And
Mostly.
mostly, yeah, oh God. Um,
Yeah. Leave Sam alone, all of you horrible trolls out there.
yeah, leave me alone. You make me swear on social media, and I'm really trying hard not to. Um, my husband said, what is it about you that attracts crazies on the internet? And I'm like, I genuinely do not know. And 9 times out of 10, I don't react because I just think, oh, not my circus, not my monkeys. But there's days like today then where I bite and I regret biting, but then you kind of need to know that I'm not a sponge. I'm not gonna take it. And if you keep prodding the bear's gonna bite at some stage.
And to be
Um,
fair, I think there are certain accounts out there who remain nameless that we all would have happily said what you said to them today, to be fair. And there are thousands of people across Twitter who would agree wholeheartedly with you, I'm sure. So
do you know what? I just literally get to the point where I'm just like, if people meet me in real life, I'm really, really nice. But there's a line in with things. And I am capable of being very, very mean. Like not physically violent, but my tongue is sharp, right? Um, and I've made people cry before, and I'm not proud of that. But you push me so far, and I'll do that, and then I just bite, and I'm like, oh, I'm really sorry. So if anybody's seen my tweets today, I am sorry. That's not my general interaction on on Twitter. But you know what? Sometimes you mess with the ball, you get the horns. Simple,
and
simple
he's
as.
feeling through as well, so that's all right.
And I like the fact that loads of people are liking what I've said as well, which is, I'm obviously not in a a party of one. But we've gone a Rod this week, and obviously we miss Rod greatly, but we can't not do a rando just because he's not here.
Feels terribly exposed now, putting up with the rando by myself.
Well, I I listen to all manner and level of podcasts on loads of different things. Um, but during lockdown, I fell down a rabbit hole of conspiracy theory podcasts. And there's some out there that really amuse me. Um, so I was wondering, what's your favourite conspiracy theory that you think is absolutely bonkers?
Oh my goodness me. Oh, I don't know where to even start on that one.
There's
Um,
loads of them.
I know. Well, the only I can think of at the minute is the moon landing one, but that's obviously too obvious.
It's the moon landings, isn't it?
Oh, do you know, I can't even think. Give me some clues.
So
Conspiracy theories, go on.
I
What are
really
you gonna say?
love the celebrity deaths
Oh, yeah.
ones.
Yeah, there's a few like that, aren't they?
So Avril Lavigne dying and being replaced by a lookalike, which I think they stole from the Paul McCartney died in a car accident in the 60s and they replaced him with an American student who won a lookalike competition. But the most bizarre one I've seen lately is Jimi Hendrix didn't die. It's actually Samuel L. Jackson. Now that to me is mental. How do people like? There's a podcast on BBC Sounds of will the real Avril Lavigne please stand up? And I just think, what drugs you on?
Yeah.
Like, I don't get it.
Well, there's all sorts of rumors about all sorts of people that died that haven't died, aren't there? There's like, there's Michael Jackson, there's Lord Lucan, there's Jimmy.
27 Club in it with like, you
Yeah.
know, all those celebrities who died. Obviously, the main ones are kind of the moon landings, but the other one that really interests me is the Mandela effect. Have you heard of that?
No.
People remembering things in a very different way. So it comes from somebody who was in South Africa and could have sworn, I think, that Mandela didn't get released from prison. But then they ask people to tell you about their childhood. Um, and people remember sort of words from films differently. So it's the whole Luke, I am your father in Star Wars and Fruit of the Loom logos with the cornucopia. Um, look into it, it's really interesting.
There's the first random question that you've stumped me on completely tonight. I'm gonna have to listen to some of these podcasts that you've been listening to get some more
Oh, I
ideas.
can give you loads. Like there's some really like big sort of ones, but loads of people posted, yeah, it was about Mandela dying in prison in the 1980s and
Right.
being like, what do you mean he's been released from prison? They held a state funeral for him. And loads of people have this collective memory of having a state funeral for Nelson Mandela and everything else. And they're genuinely surprised then where um, they're like, what? You know he's dead. What do you mean? Um, but really, 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 really interesting theory. Look
Okay.
into it.
Okay.
Um, guys, if any of you've got any podcast suggestions on stuff around this, or tell me your favorite conspiracy theory. I absolutely love that kind of randomness thing. It makes me quite I'm really interested with the psychology of it. Um,
There must be some rugby-based consider conspiracy theories out there somewhere.
do you reckon?
There have to
Let's
be.
have a little look.
There have to be.
Let's have a little looky look at Lula. It's one of those things where things happen. Oh, okay. Something to do with Ireland never making it to the Rugby World Cup final. There's a conspiracy theory against them that they get given certain groups and blah blah blah.
Oh, okay, yeah. I suppose we can all argue these ones, can't we?
Yeah,
The Wales have lost the last 14 games because of some reason. That's not Warren Gatland.
loads around Schalkberger and Jean de Villiers with Raz Erasmus. This is a new rabbit hole that we could drop down.
That sounds libelous, that one possibly.
I have allegedly, it's a lawyer and me coming out, but that's it for this week. Now, a couple of interesting games this weekend coming up. We've got England, Italy. No, we haven't. We've got France, Italy, and we've got England, Scotland. Um, been a bit of a banana skin for England the last couple of years, the Calcutta Cup, hasn't it?
It has.
So do we
Yeah.
think they can shake the heebie-jeebies off this year, or do we think Scotland will still go in strong?
I think England will have their tails up after beating France. They'll be disappointed if they can't back that up with a win against Scotland as well. But likewise, Scotland will be disappointed with how they performed against Ireland and they'll be looking for a response from that as well. So it could be an absolute belter, to be
And they'll
fair.
be well up for England. They will be absolutely well
Both.
up for England. Um, obviously, France, Italy, we kind of I would fall off my chair in shock. if Italy won that one. I can't see that happening.
So
But
this is one of my favourite
sorry,
six
Rod.
fixtures on a Sunday afternoon. There's something lovely about France, Italy, or Italy, France on a Sunday afternoon. You don't really care who wins. You can just sit there
Just sit and enjoy it, isn't it?
on a Sunday and enjoy it. It's a really nice Six
It's a
Nations
bit like
fixture.
hockey, hockey, ho.
Yeah,
And
it is.
now I've insulted everyone in France. Way to go, Sam.
That's
You're
the
having a
next
great
Twitter
day.
that's coming after you now, the French.
Oh my God. Um, so yeah, but if anybody wants to send us in their score predictions for this weekend, feel free. More chance. We'll let you know what the arrangements are with the band, but that is us for this week. We'll pop our banner up with all our socials
Just
and
before we finish, Sam, can I mention two things really, really quickly?
go for it.
They are related to rugby. Thursday night, I know it's crossing codes to rugby league, but it's the first time I've ever seen a rugby game finish 1-0.
I
Um,
know.
Lee against Wigan on a golden point, a
I
1-0,
know.
which was
Insane. I've never
absolutely
seen that
insane, but so cool. And that'll be a quiz question in however
in
many.
years to come.
What was the first fixture to end 1-0 or whatever? And also on a very local front to me, it'll mean nothing to most people that listen to the podcast, but Welsh Pool RFC won the Division Two North Championship this weekend with a ruck of games still left to play. They've gone unbeaten all season.
Liverpool.
So congratulations to Welsh Pool for getting
Well
promoted
done, Welsh Pool. Da
1-0.
iawn. Um, oh, I also was brave on Twitter and asked Lance if he wanted to come on, and he said yeah. So I'll see if we can get him on in the run up to the Scarlets. He seemed interested.
Yeah, he'll have a full set of Ospreys podcasts then, won't he? So
Do the rounds, innit?
absolutely.
Can't leave us out and treat us like the ginger step children, you know? And let's face it, I'm really entertaining. So,
Yeah.
why wouldn't he want to come on? But have a lovely week, everyone. Um, look forward to these internationals. Let's hope it's not as bad as we think it could be, or it could actually be. And as Mark said, if we're in 5 to 10 points, we're happy bum buns, basically. But let's continue living that dream for the Triple Crown, shall we? Yeah, could it be on? Why not? I'm being overly optimistic now. Perhaps it's the happy pills.
Somebody has to be.
Yeah, yeah. But have a fantastic week, everyone. Enjoy all the rugby that's coming up, and we will see you next week.
Bye.